The cage and the girl. The hallway was cold, silent, and smelled like metal and old blood. Jace walked slowly, holding the food tray with both hands. It was his third week working in the lower levels of the research base, but this was his first time on level 0. The guards called it the pit, the place where monsters were kept. Jace didn't believe in monsters, not until he saw the cage, thick bars, energy walls, cameras in every corner. Behind them sat the alien savage they all whispered about. He stopped just a few feet away and stared. She was sitting on the floor, thin, covered in bruises. Her silver hair hung down over her face like a curtain. Chains wrapped around her ankles and wrists. She didn't even look up. "This one?" Jace asked the guard beside him. "Yeah," the guard said, chewing gum. "Feed her and get out. Don't talk to it. Don't try to touch it. Don't even look too long. She tore a man's throat with her teeth last month." Jace swallowed hard. The tray shook in his hands. He stepped forward and bent slowly, pushing the tray through a slot at the bottom of the cage. The sound of the metal sliding across the floor echoed around them. The alien girl didn't move. "She's not eating," Jace said softly. "She'll eat when she's hungry enough," the guard replied, already walking away. "Let her starve, for all I care." Jace stayed a moment longer. He looked at her again, not at her chains or her wounds, but her eyes. Dark purple, half closed, but not wild, not dangerous. They looked tired. He whispered, "What's your name?" No answer. He took one step back. Her hand moved, just a little. She reached for the tray, slowly, like she thought it might be a trap. Her thin fingers wrapped around the cup of water first. She sniffed it, then drank. Jace turned and left, heart pounding. The next day, Jace returned with food again. No one else wanted the job. She was already sitting close to the slot. Waiting, he pushed the tray inside. She reached for it faster this time. Her hands were still shaking. The same pattern continued for days. He brought food. She ate. No words. Then one day, he noticed something strange. Her hands had burns on them. He leaned forward. "What happened to your hands?" She flinched. He raised both hands, palms up. "I'm not going to hurt you." She stared at him through the bars. Still silent. That night, Jace couldn't sleep. Her eyes stayed in his mind. He couldn't forget how scared she looked. Not dangerous, not savage, just broken. The next morning, Jace brought something different. Fresh fruit, from his own rations. "Here," he said softly, pushing it through. She sniffed it, looked at him, then ate. Slowly. After that, things began to change. She waited for him every day. She no longer backed away when he came near. Once, she even nodded, after eating. Jace smiled at that. Then came the day that changed everything. She was sitting in her usual corner when he arrived, but her bowl was cracked. The food had spilled on the floor. She was licking it off the metal. Jace's chest tightened. "Wait, don't eat that." He rushed back and brought her a new meal, hot, clean, from his own hands. As he slid it inside, her hand touched his for just 1 second. He froze. So did she. Then she pulled back, her eyes wide like she had done something wrong. Jace didn't speak. He only smiled gently. "It's okay," he said. "You don't have to be scared." For the first time, she spoke. A whisper. So soft, it was like a breath. "Jace." He stared. She remembered his name. That was the first word she had ever said. To him, not savage, not beast, just a girl, who had been forgotten in a cage. He returned to his bunk that night with his thoughts full. The guards saw a dangerous alien, but Jace had seen something else. She was hungry, scared, and hurt, but not evil. He didn't know her story yet. He didn't know why she was locked up or what they had done to her, but he knew one thing for sure. She was more human than the people who kept her in chains, and tomorrow he would bring her a real meal, and maybe a name. Jace didn't sleep well. All night her voice echoed in his mind. Just one word. His name. Jace. He had fed many creatures at the facility, in cages, behind energy walls. Some snarled, some hissed. None had ever spoken his name. But she had, and she wasn't like the others. The next morning, Jace didn't go to the cafeteria like usual. He packed his own lunch carefully. Warm stew, fresh bread, a clean cup of water. He skipped the old metal tray and brought a new container from his quarters. She deserves better, he whispered to himself. When he reached her cage, the air felt heavier than usual. Something wasn't right. Then he saw it. Her bowl had shattered. Old soup spilled across the dirty floor. She was on her knees, licking it off the metal like a starving animal. Jace's heart dropped. He rushed forward. "Stop! Wait!" She backed into the corner, eyes wide, lips trembling. A deep scratch bled across her arm. It looked like she had tried to pick up a sharp piece of the broken bowl. She thought she would be punished. He could see it in her face. "I'm not angry," he said softly, kneeling near the slot. "I brought you something better." He slid the fresh, hot meal through the gap. She didn't move at first, just stared. The smell reached her. Warm, comforting. Slowly, she crawled closer and picked it up with both hands. Her hands shook, but not from fear this time, from hunger. She took a bite, and then she looked at him. Not like a prisoner looks at a guard, but like someone who just tasted kindness for the first time. The other guards watched from the upper platform. One laughed. "Careful, Jace. Feed her too well and she'll think you're her mate." Another spat. "She doesn't even have a name, just a number. Unit 37. Jace ignored them. He sat near the cage wall, legs crossed, and spoke gently. "That's not your name, is it?" She looked up, bread still in her hand. "I don't believe you're a number." She blinked. "Do you have a name?" he asked again. She was silent, but her eyes stayed on his. He pointed at himself. "Jace." Then he pointed at her. "You?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Her fingers curled tightly around the bread. She seemed scared, not of him, but of her own voice. "Then," she whispered, "Sina." It came out soft, shaky, but real. He smiled. "Sina, that's beautiful." Her lips parted, almost a smile. But not yet. Over the next days, a fragile rhythm formed between them. He brought warm meals. Real food. She ate closer to the bars each time. He spoke gently. She answered in short, quiet words. She learned his favorite fruit was greenberries. He learned she hated the light bulbs. They made her eyes burn. He asked if the guards hurt her. She didn't speak. But she looked down and touched her scars. That was enough. Jace's fists clenched. This wasn't just a cage. It was a wound, and no one else seemed to care. One evening, Jace brought her something different. A soft cloth. She tilted her head, confused. "It's for your face," he said. "You don't have to look like you're suffering anymore." He watched as she took the cloth and slowly wiped her cheeks. The dirt came off in dark streaks. Her skin underneath was pale violet, smooth, delicate. She wasn't a savage, she wasn't a beast, she was a girl, and she was learning how to feel human again. Later that night, the cameras caught something strange. Sina was curled in the corner of her cage, but the tray from Jace was still near the bars. One piece of bread was untouched. She had torn it in half and placed the other half gently near the energy slot, waiting. Jace found it the next morning. He picked it up, stunned. A gift, her first gift. He smiled to himself. That day, the guards reported a strange message scribbled in chalk on the hallway wall near the cage. "Thank you, Jace." They erased it, of course. "Unauthorized alien. Writing," they said, but he had already seen it and his heart had already answered. "You're welcome, Sina." The base was quiet that morning. Too quiet. Jace walked the metal halls with something in his hand, a small flower. Not from Earth, but from the base's greenhouse. It glowed faintly blue and smelled like sweet mist. He had taken it when no one was looking. Why? He didn't know. Maybe because every time he looked at Sana, he felt like she had forgotten what beauty was. Forgotten that the world could still be soft, even inside a cage. When he reached her cell, she was awake, sitting, waiting. She didn't rush forward this time. She simply watched him through the bars, silent. Her bruises had faded a little, but the chains were still tight. Jace crouched beside the energy slot and whispered, "I brought you something. Not food. Not today." He gently pushed the glowing flower through the gap. She didn't move at first, just stared. Then slowly, she crawled forward. She picked it up with both hands like it was made of glass. The glow reflected in her dark purple eyes, and then she did something that stopped his breath. She pressed the flower gently against her cheek and closed her eyes. Jace sat down, not saying a word. He could hear the hum of the energy wall, the buzz of distant machines, and her soft, steady breathing. After a long time, she whispered, "Why?" He looked up. His heart skipped. She had spoken again. Her voice was soft, like wind, moving through leaves, a sound not meant for war commands, just a girl's voice. He answered quietly, "Because I wanted you to feel something good again." Her eyes met his. "I don't deserve good," she said, her words broken and unsure. "Yes, you do," he said quickly. He didn't let her look away. "You're not what they say, you're not savage, you're not a thing." "You don't know what I did," she whispered. "Maybe I don't," Jace said, "but I know what they did. They locked you in chains like an animal. They fed you garbage and still you didn't hurt me. You never tried." She lowered her head. "I was born a weapon," she said. "No," Jace replied. "You were used as a weapon. That's different." That day, their conversation grew longer. Slowly, word by word, Sana told him about her planet, dark skies, silver rivers, and cities inside mountains. She had once studied healing. She had once sung songs to her sisters. But war came. Her people lost. She was captured, brought here like cargo. "They took my voice," she said softly. "I stopped speaking because no one cared." Jace looked at her with gentle eyes. "I care." She blinked, then she asked, "Why?" And Jace didn't have an answer, because even he didn't know why this mattered so much, why her pain felt so personal, why her silence hurt him. Maybe because she reminded him of someone, maybe because her eyes never lied. The next day, she was waiting again. But something had changed. She stood, not crouched, not on her knees. She stood tall, still thin, still scarred, but standing. Jace stared. She raised her hand and said, "Hello." He smiled wide. "Hello, Sana." He stepped closer, brave. She reached through the energy slot and touched his hand, just barely. It was the first time she had touched him willingly, and it wasn't fear. It was trust. Later, in the guard room, they noticed something strange on the footage. The alien girl was laughing, not loudly, just once. A short, soft sound, like rain hitting warm stone. A laugh. The guards rewound the clip 5 times. Is that even possible? Are we sure it was an audio glitch? But Jace knew it was real, because he had said something stupid about human food, that Earth stew always tasted like wet socks. She didn't even understand the joke fully, but she laughed. Not because of the stew, because of him. That night, Jace wrote something in his old notebook. She is still learning how to speak, but today, she made a sound the world forgot she could make. Laughter. He closed the notebook and whispered into the dark, "I'll protect that sound." It began with a flicker. The hallway lights blinked once, then again. and then the base went dark. Jace froze, food tray still in hand. The emergency siren didn't scream right away. It coughed, then died. He looked around. No sound, no light, just the silence of deep metal and stone and something moving far below. Then came the emergency alert. Containment breach. Level 0. All personnel secure yourselves, creatures loose. This is not a drill. Jace's heart raced. He dropped the tray and ran. Not toward the exit, toward her, down dark stairs, past flickering lights, toward the place everyone else was, running from. She was still locked down there, still caged, still helpless, maybe not. When he reached her cell, the air was thick and heavy, like something wrong had entered the walls. Smoke drifted from the power box. Sparks flew from a blown-out energy panel. The bars of the cage had collapsed inward. She wasn't there. Panic hit him like a wall. "Cena!" he shouted. Something moved behind him. He turned fast, but too late. The beast hit him. It was one of the escaped creatures, not large but fast, all teeth and bone and rage. It slammed him to the wall. Claws tore into his shoulder. Pain exploded. He fell. It leapt again. But before it could touch him, a scream tore through the dark. Not from the beast, from her. Cena moved like wind, barefoot, bloody, wild, not savage, free. She collided with the creature midair, dragging it down. She struck fast, bone cracking under her fists. She didn't stop until the floor was still, then silence. Jace lay there, bleeding, barely breathing. She knelt beside him. His vision blurred. Her silver hair fell over his chest. She was saying something. "Stay awake," she whispered. "Stay with me." He tried to speak. Failed. Her hand pressed over his wound. She was shaking. "Cena," he whispered. She looked at him, eyes full of fear, for him, not herself. Footsteps thundered from above. Guards, guns, flashlights. One beam hit her. "There she is! Don't move!" She stood over Jace, arms wide, body tense. They raised their weapons. "Don't shoot!" Jace coughed. She saved me." They didn't lower their guns. She didn't back down. One man shouted, "She's dangerous." "She's not," Jace yelled back. "She protected me. You want proof? I'm alive because of her." For one long second, no one moved. Then the base commander arrived, tall and cold. He looked at the scene. The broken body of the beast, the wounded human, the alien girl crouched like a shield, and he gave a quiet order. "Secure the human. Don't hurt the girl, and for now." They dragged Jace away. He passed out before he reached the medbay. When he woke up, his arm was wrapped, shoulder stitched. The pain was strong but dull. He sat up fast. "Where is she?" The nurse blinked. "Who?" "Cena, the alien girl." "She's being held in the observation dome," she said. "No cage this time, but it's temporary." Jace limped to the dome the next day. The sun shone through the curved glass, casting light on her face. She looked so different without the bars, without chains, but her eyes, they were still the same. She didn't speak right away, just looked at him. "You're okay," she whispered. He nodded, smiling. "Thanks to you." She looked down. "They wanted to shoot you," he said. "You didn't run." "I wasn't going to leave you," she said softly. There was no fear in her voice now, only truth. The commander met with Jace later that day. "You've formed a bond with it." "She's not an it," Jace said. The commander sighed. "Fine. Her, Cena. Whatever you call her, you're responsible now." "What does that mean?" "It means you get one chance," the commander said coldly. "Take her under your watch. If she harms anyone, you face the punishment." Jace didn't hesitate. "I'll take her." The commander raised an eyebrow. "She's still an alien. You still trust her?" Jace's voice was firm. "She bled. For me. Fought for me. That's more than some humans ever did." That night, Cena sat beside him in the quiet room, watching stars through the glass dome. She spoke only one sentence before sleep claimed her. I wasn't born to protect, but I would protect you again. And Jace believed her not because of her words, but because she already had. The next morning, everything had changed. Sina was no longer behind bars, but the looks people gave her hadn't changed. Every hallway she walked down with Jace felt like a battlefield. Soldiers moved aside. Scientists whispered. Guards placed. Hands near their weapons. Jace could feel it in the air. Fear. Not from her. From them. They feared what they couldn't understand. And Sina, with her glowing eyes and silent steps, was something they never tried to understand. Why do they stare? She asked softly as they walked the upper corridor. Because they don't know you, Jace answered. And people fear what they don't know. She looked away. Then I wish I could disappear. You don't need to disappear, he said. You just need time. She stopped walking. Will they ever accept me? She asked. Jace turned toward her, eyes soft. You do. That was the first time she reached out and held his hand, openly, without fear. Later that day, Jace was called to the commander's office. The room was cold, filled with stone walls and sharp questions. She's bonded to you, the commander said flatly. She listens to your words. She touched a weapon yesterday and didn't use it. We saw it on footage. I told her not to, Jace replied. And she obeyed. The commander nodded. Which means she's capable of restraint. That makes her dangerous and useful. Jace clenched his jaw. She's not a tool. Then prove she's a person, the commander said. You want to keep her out of a cage? Earn it. He dropped a form on the table. A guardianship contract. Jace stared at it for a long time that night. His mind ran in circles. If he signed it, he was taking full responsibility for her. Every action she took would be seen as his responsibility too. But deep down, the decision was already made. She had protected him. Now it was his turn. He told her everything. What the form meant, what could happen. That she could be sent away again if she slipped even once. Sina sat silently for a long time. Then she whispered, Do you still trust me? With my life, Jace answered. She closed her eyes. Then I will trust you with mine. Over the next week, they began small tests. She was allowed out of the observation dome, but only inside controlled zones. Jace stayed by her side the entire time. They taught her how to open human doors, how to use a spoon, how to dress herself. She learned fast, too fast. She watches everything, one scientist noted, and remembers it all. She listens to him, said another. Only to him. One afternoon, Jace caught a private moment. Sina was standing near the mirror, brushing her silver hair. For the first time, she didn't look like a prisoner. She looked like a person, free whole. But her eyes were still uncertain. When she noticed him watching, she froze. Do I look strange? She asked. No, Jace said, smiling. You look like yourself. She tilted her head. What does that mean? It means you're not hiding anymore. That night they ate dinner together, not through bars, not in silence. They shared food, laughed, talked. She tried earth noodles for the first time and almost choked. He spilled juice and blamed the faulty cup. They were clumsy, awkward, but real. Wasn't just peace, it was something like home. But not everyone approved. One guard spat near their table. Disgusting, feeding it like a pet. Another added, One day she'll bite you, and no one's gonna help. Sina heard it. She lowered her head. Her hands trembled. Jace stood slowly and stared at the guards. Say that again. The guards didn't, not because they respected him, but because Sina stood too. And even though she said nothing, her eyes said everything. Later she asked Jace, Do you regret signing the paper? He shook his head. No. Even if they hate me? Even then. She looked at him for a long time, then said, I don't want to be your weapon or your burden. You're not, he replied. You're my choice. And for the first time since leaving her planet, Sana let herself cry. The rain came quietly that evening. The base had a false sky, programmed weather. But tonight, for the first time in months, they let it rain. Not heavy, just a soft drizzle over the transparent dome. Jace sat by the window, elbows on his knees, watching the drops run down the glass. Behind him, Sana sat cross-legged on a soft floor mat, her silver hair loose, glowing faintly in the low light. She had taken off the thin boots they gave her. She said they felt like soft cages on her feet. She liked the floor better. She said it reminded her of cold river stones from her home world. Does rain always sound like this? She asked. Jace smiled. Yeah, peaceful, right? She tilted her head. It makes the walls feel less angry. He looked at her. That was the most poetic thing she'd ever said. He had grown used to her voice now, but not the way she still paused before speaking, as if every word had weight. Like speaking still felt like walking on sharp stones. But tonight, she didn't seem afraid of silence or of him. They had started talking about silly things, like how she hated earth carrots, how she thought humans made too many clothes, how she didn't understand why Jace slept with a pillow under his head. That's where your thoughts are, she once said, confused. Why make them higher? He had laughed until his stomach hurt, and she had smiled. Not the small, shy smile she used to wear, but a real one. Warm. As the night deepened, the lights dimmed to low blue. Jace closed his eyes and leaned his head back against the wall. His body ached from the training drills earlier. Ever since signing guardianship over Sina, the commander had added combat readiness to his schedule, in case she ever lost control, in case Jace needed to stop her. But Jace never believed he would. She was learning control faster than anyone expected. Not just speech or movement, but feelings, choices. Sometimes she seemed more human than the people who ran the base. He didn't hear her footsteps, only felt a presence near his side. When he opened his eyes, she was kneeling in front of him, quiet, watching. Her hands were clasped in her lap. I had a dream, she said. He blinked. What kind? I was in a ship. Alone, it was dark, cold, but I could hear your voice. What was I saying? She hesitated, then whispered, You said I wasn't broken. Jace felt a lump in his throat. He didn't know what to say. So he just looked at her and saw something had shifted. Her eyes weren't just watching him now, they were searching. She reached out slowly. Her fingers hovered in the air between them. Then, softly, she touched his face. It was not a romantic touch. Not urgent, just soft, like someone feeling sunlight for the first time. She traced the edge of his cheek with her thumb, then rested her palm gently over his jaw. Her skin was cool. Her touch was steady. You feel warm, she said. Your skin speaks, but not with words. He didn't move, didn't breathe. Sana, he whispered. Her eyes met his. No fear, no questions, just presence. I wanted to know, she said. Why I feel calmer when you're near. Jay swallowed hard. Because maybe you're safe with me. Not just safe, she said. Real. He nodded slowly. Then maybe I feel the same. She gently pulled her hand back, but not far. It rested on his shoulder instead. They sat, like that for a long time, rain still falling, silence still soft. In that quiet, something unspoken passed between them, something deeper than language, a connection without chains, without fear, without cages. Just being. Later that night, Sana curled near the soft rug. Her breathing was slow, peaceful. Jace watched her as she slept, not because he was guarding her, but because she wasn't guarding herself anymore. She had let the walls fall. She had touched his face, not to learn him, but to trust him. And in that moment, he realized something. He didn't care what the base said, what the guards thought, what the contract warned. She wasn't a test subject. She wasn't his assignment. She was becoming his heart. The room was silent when the door opened. Jace stood up fast. He could tell something was wrong by the look on the officer's face. Cena must report to Central Council, the man said. Today, Jace frowned. Why? They've made a decision. No more holding aliens inside military bases. All non-Earth life forms will be removed or reassigned. He stepped closer. Her fate will be voted on. If the Council deems her dangerous, she'll be sent off-world. Sent where? Jace asked. No answer. Just silence. Jace looked over at Cena. She had heard everything. Her eyes didn't show fear this time, just sadness. They took her in a transport pod, cuffs on her wrists again, not tight, but enough to remind her of who she used to be. Jace walked beside her the whole way. No one said a word. The council hall was white and cold. A half-circle of men and women in suits stared down at her from raised chairs. They asked questions. Too many questions. What is your purpose? Why were you violent before? Would you harm others again? She tried to answer, but her voice kept shaking. Jace couldn't take it anymore. He stood up. She's not a threat, he said loudly. She's learning. She's already saved lives, mine included. One councilwoman raised an eyebrow. You speak for her? I do, Jace said. I always will. Another councilman frowned. Are you emotionally attached to the subject? She's not a subject, Jace said sharply. She's a person, a survivor. The room murmured. Then came the final question. What will you do if she is set free? Jace looked at Cena, then back at them. I'll take her home. Home? One man repeated. You don't even live off base. I'll find a place, Jace said. Somewhere quiet, somewhere real. She deserves more than labs and locked rooms. The council went quiet. For a moment, no one breathed. Then, the lead judge pressed a button. Decision. Approved. Guardianship. Maintained. Subject cleared for relocation. Effective immediately. Sana didn't speak in the transport shuttle. She just sat quietly, staring at the sky through the small window. Jace gently placed his hand near hers. She looked down, then slowly slid her hand into his. No chains, just fingers. Intertwined. Weeks passed. They left the base together, traveled north, found a small cabin near the edge of the green valleys, where the wind sang and no soldiers marched. There were no bars, no machines watching, just a door that opened wide to the stars, and silence that healed. Sana took time. She touched flowers, walked barefoot on soft earth, laughed at the wind. Sometimes Jace would catch her just standing still, arms wide, feeling the sun on her skin. She didn't ask for much, just peace, and Jace gave her all of it. One night, under a quiet moon, they sat near the fire. Jace roasted vegetables on sticks. Cena looked at the flames, her voice soft. I used to think cages were the end. He looked over. They are, he said. But not for you. She turned toward him. They told me I was born to destroy. You were lied to. They said I would never be free. He smiled gently. You are now. She looked down at her, hand resting near his, then back up at him. Then what am I now? Jace didn't answer with words. He reached forward and tucked a piece of hair behind her ear. You're home, he whispered. She blinked. Her voice shook with feeling. Not a weapon? No. Not an experiment? He shook his head. Not your responsibility? He took a deep breath. You are not my responsibility, Sana. You're my choice. Tears slipped from her eyes, but she smiled. A real smile. Free one. That night she fell asleep with her head on his shoulder, warm and safe. And for the first time in her life, She dreamed of tomorrow,